Today in this video we are going to see the compellability of witnesses under section 133, 120 to 133 of Indian Evidence Act of 1872. So in these 12 sections, 120, 13, 30, 14 sections, we are going to see the compellability and competency of the witness. So we will see the sections one by one. First of all, the compellability means one can be compelled to give evidence with all strictness, whether it is sworn or unsworn statement. When he enters the witness box, he is compelled to give evidence. That is the compellability of witness. Whether he can sworn or unsworn, unless until he is exempted from giving witness. So that is called compellability. So once a person is entitled to give witness, he is competent to give witness and he has to answer all the questions put forth to him. That is called compellability of witness, and competency also we are going to see in these sections. That is one by one. Section 120, in all civil suits, the parties to the suits are even parties to the suits have to give the witness for the purpose of evidence. The wife and husband all shall be competent witness, so they can give evidence for and against the spouses. Then section 121, no judges or magistrate except special order of court, that is the superior court under which he is working, be compelled to give witness unless he is compelled to give witness by the superior court in which he is working as judge. Then they, under the order of the court, higher court, he can be compelled to give witness. Otherwise, no judge or magistrate can be compelled to give witness. Similarly, the certain privileges are given to the foreign delegates. They cannot be compelled to give witness. That is, the ambassadors, foreign ambassadors are not competent to, cannot be compelled to give evidence. And then section 122 says communication during marriage, communication between spouses during matrimonial communication, that need not be disclosed as witness. So what are the communications in between spouses need not be disclosed disclosed as witness. That is the communication during marriage. And section 123 reveals, or section 123 says evidence to affairs of the state. The state, we know that is the supreme thing, and it is a sovereign state, and being the sovereign state, certain special powers are vested with the state, and that is the communications from unpublished records cannot be given as witness. Only from the published records the evidence can be given. That is called evidence as to affairs of the state, because that will be against the policy or it is unwanted from the citizens. That's the evidence as to affairs of state. And section 124 states official communication, that is no public officer shall be compelled to disclose communication made to him in official confidence. So some of the matters which will be revealed to the officers as secret cannot be expressed as evidence. That is public interest, because it may affect the public interest. By disclosing all those facts, so the public affairs are affected. So, considering the public affairs of the state, which will affect the public officer need not be compelled, or he cannot be compelled to disclose communication made to him in his official capacity or in his official confidence. Then section 125 says information to commission of offence. Certain matters revealed to the police officers or judges shall be compelled to disclose. No magistrate or police officer shall be compelled to disclose information to commission of offence. That is, some of the informations given to police officers and judges for the commission of offence need not be disclosed, and it because it is a privilege statement, and the privilege statement given to police officers or judges considered as government privileges. So those privileges need not be revealed as witness. And then section 126 says the communication made by the client to the lawyer in his professional communication need not be disclosed, or it cannot be revealed as witness, because it can be kept as secret or it can be maintained as confidential. Then section 127 says, similarly, when the client tells some matter to the lawyer, similarly, some interpreter like stenographer, clerk will be there for the lawyers, and the information to the clerk or stenographer need not be revealed. That is, the interpreter to apply to interpreter also, that is clerk and stenographers or lawyer, they need not disclose the facts revealed to them by the client, because it is in the official communication, official capacity. Then privilege not waived by volunteering evidence. Some of the evidences are privileged and not waived by volunteering evidence. Even if it is volunteered for giving evidence, that need not be disclosed, because adverse party cannot summon his advocate as a witness. Suppose even if the advocate who is arguing for that is, say, for the accused, then he need not disclose certain facts to the other party, even if it is waived by volunteering evidence. So even if it is waived by the client, then that need not be disclosed as evidence, because adverse party cannot summon his advocate as witness on the ground that his client has waived the privileges by approving as a witness. Because as a witness, even he may give certain privileges to the lawyer, but that should not be waived by volunteering his evidence. So that need not be taken as granted for giving evidence. So that need not be disclosed, even if it is volunteered by the party, that is who is the client. Then confidential communication with the legal advisors. Some of the confidential communication as in his official capacity given by the client need not be disclosed or need not be given as witness. That is, the confidential communication with the legal advisor. Some of the confidential communication which should be maintained as secret should not be given as evidence. Then protection of the next section 130, protection of title deeds, not a party, because when a party have the title deeds, he cannot be compelled to disclose his title deed. And when the party has title deed, three types of title deeds need not be disclosed. One is the title deeds of the party, uh, which is for the property, and that need not be produced as witness. And the second thing, certain property that is hypothecated or with the by hired by him, or it is under lease, or certain mortgage property. If the party has the title for the mortgage deed, he need not produce the title deed for the in the as a witness. And anything which affects the party, if he has title deed, that need not be disclosed. These are all three types of title deeds. The production of title deeds not necessary and need not be produced as witness in the court. Then section 131, production of documents which another person having, that is even in his possession, unless consented, it need not be produced in the court. So the production of title deeds, since it is not which another person having in possession, that need not be produced unless it is consented by the party. That is called production of documents which another person having in possession, and that he could refuse to produce the documents unless consented by the concerned party. If consent is given, then it can be produced. Then section 132 says, witness not excused from answering on ground that answer will criminate. Even suppose even if it criminate, even if it if he reveals the witness, if it affects him, then under that garb he is not excused from giving witness. So witness not excused from answering on ground that answer will criminate him. Suppose if the answer criminate him, under that garb he need not give, but as per the section 20, certain privileges are given in constitutional law under article 20. Then section 1 to 33, accomplice evidence. Accomplice means the person who is advancing some ideas given, or advancing for the guilt to commit an offense, that is called an accomplice. Udandai Kutravali, in Tamil it is called Udandai Kutravali. That is, he will be along with the person who wants to commit crime. So he will not directly involve in the crime, but he will be helping the crime. That is, that person is called accomplice. So the accomplice evidence, say for example, the accomplice evidence is accepted as evidence. Say for illustration, the principle of first degree, then he actually pulled the trigger of the gun, and then in the melee or in the process, it kills a person called C. So C was murdered by A, and then it was happening in the presence of B. So he is called the principle of second degree. That is actually the incident, the murdering happened in the presence of the second principle, and then the D procuring the gun for A, so he is also an accomplice, and the E actually harbored A and B. Harbored means that is he is giving asylum to A and B. So they are hiding in the place of E. So he is harboring A and B. So in this case, the A, B and D, E are all called accomplice. The accomplice evidence is taken as the evidence. These are all the compellability and competency of witness. So in this section, what are the things? What is the compelling grounds, and what is the competency? On what grounds they can give evidence? The witness can give evidence. All these things are explained in these 13 sections. 120 to 133, and in these 14 sections we are seeing all this competency and compellability of evidences. As a general case, certain privileges are given to certain people, and those privileges need not be disclosed as evidence. With this, we are coming to the conclusion, and we are with this we conclude the compellability of evidence witnesses.